And we looked at our good schools and we asked those teachers if they would be prepared to run programs after school and on a Saturday, and in particular during the April, June and September vacations. Those were the periods that we said we would pay them 300 Rand an hour. I don't know what you people pay them.
Sure.
But we pay them 300 Rand an hour, and they need to have a minimum of 2 hours, so it's 600 Rand for a 2-hour session that we would pay them.
Wow, guys, you're missing out there.
So that's what we would be prepared to pay them. There is absolutely no meddling in what happens there. Last year when we started this thing, we simply did this. We didn't know what we were letting ourselves in for. I didn't know what I was letting myself in for. So I simply said, well, let's just do it. Let's act organically and see what happens. And it was very interesting. It's fascinating that we allowed it to happen. This year, we did different things. At the beginning of this year, I met with the tutors, I met with the principals, chatted about it and saw how we were able to work hand in glove with that. But we still have difficulty in certain areas. Accounting is a problem. We don't have enough accounting tutors in the system. We don't have enough mathematics tutors in the system. We don't have enough physical science tutors in the system. We don't have enough. So to say that we don't need the NGO 60 is absolutely wrong. And so I'm concerned when you have all these wonderful meetings with Linda Rhodes and Penny Benjamin. Really I'm concerned. I mean, I sit here and I think, wow. I mean, I'm sure it must be a nice meeting, but it doesn't lead anywhere.
Yeah.
And so that for me is really, really, really important that we get that out of the way, that we look at this community of practice. We're a great proponent of Glen van Harte's work. We love that work. We've read the work. We think it's fantastic. So we need to, first of all, make sure that we understand what is our common purpose. Because I'm not sure whether that conversation has been had, because this is my first meeting. Because one of the major things about the Glen van Harte's work is, what is the common purpose? If the common purpose is to get children through matric, then that's a limited common purpose. There must be something else that's in that kind of work and in that kind of milieu. So I think that you are absolutely correct that there is an antagonism towards the NGO sector from the whole top structure at the WCED. There is nobody that manages the after-school tutorial program at head office. Absolutely nobody. There is nobody. They're run by my counterparts and myself in the 8 districts in this province. Now that's a weakness. I think that may be a weakness, but I think also it's a strength. And then I also want to say that we must just be very careful, and this is my own years of 29 years in the education department, that we must be careful that we don't over-organize these things. You see? Because I think that there's a value to an organic process that actually finds itself. I think we must have, for me, a community of practice is really sharing best practice, finding ways of dealing with what is necessary to be dealt with. But if we think we're going to get a very highly structured program between the education department and the NGO sector, I think that's a very dangerous arrangement to have. Because then you're basically getting into bed with the government. And the point about NGOs is you don't get into bed with the government because you do things very differently to government. You do different things to government. And finally, if I may, John, to say that I think that the tutorial programs have and I'm talking about those tutorial programs that run purely on the content knowledge for learners. We are finding, and we have always found this, and this is something you know, is not the most fantastic thing that happens. Because in fact what happens is the children that come to, and I should say learners, but I can't get right to say that, but the children who come to these programs are the children who are already motivated.
Yeah.
And the lazy buggers who are supposed to come to those programs don't come.
Yeah.
Because there are other pathologies involved there. And it's those pathologies that we as an NGO sector must be dealing with. It's the pathology of the lack of motivation. It's the pathology of the lack of a will to want to know what my future is all about. It's the pathology of a lack of a world view among children that causes the problems. Because sometimes I think the kids that we get at these sessions would do well whether there was a tutorial program or not. Yeah. And so that for me is something that we need to talk about. How do we unlock the will among the children, and how do we unlock the will among teachers? So for me, I'm also interested to say, if I'm having in this room here the brains trust of the province and Gauteng, if I have the brains trust, what do we do to upskill the teachers so that we actually begin to work ourselves out of a job? Thank you, John.